Your life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. And that changes everything. Right now, in this very moment, you are either creating your future or destroying it. There is no neutral ground. There is no standing still. Every thought you think, every choice you make, every word you speak is either building the life you want or tearing it down. Who here believes they are in complete control of their destiny? Raise your hand if you truly believe that. Look around, see how few hands are raised. That tells you everything you need to know about why most people live lives of quiet desperation while a small percentage live extraordinary lives. The difference isn't talent, it isn't luck, it isn't connections or circumstance. The difference is this: extraordinary people understand that their life is their responsibility and their responsibility alone. They've stopped looking outside themselves for the answers and started looking within. They've learned the power of silence, the power of self-examination, the power of taking complete ownership of their results. Most people are sleepwalking through life. They wake up, check what everyone else is doing, react to whatever crisis demands their attention, blame their circumstances for their results, and fall asleep, promising themselves that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow is never different because they never change. They're waiting for their circumstances to change instead of changing themselves. But not you, not anymore. Because today, something shifts. Today, you stop being a victim of your life and start being the creator of it. Let me tell you about Sarah. 2 years ago, she was drowning. Divorced, broke, working 3 jobs just to pay rent on a tiny apartment, feeling like life was punishing her for sins she couldn't even remember committing. Every morning, she'd wake up already defeated, checking her phone to see what new problems had arrived overnight. She spent her days putting out fires, reacting to emergencies, complaining to anyone who would listen about how unfair life was. Sound familiar? Maybe not the exact details, but the feeling, that sense that life is something that happens to you while you're making other plans. Sarah's turning point came on a Tuesday morning when she couldn't even afford coffee. She was sitting in her car outside her office, crying, when she heard herself saying out loud, "Why does this always happen to me?" And then something inside her snapped, not in anger but in clarity. She realized she had been asking the wrong question her entire life. Instead of "Why does this always happen to me?" she started asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of "How can I fix my circumstances?" she started asking, "How can I fix myself?" Instead of "Who can help me?" she started asking, "How can I help myself?" That morning, instead of rushing into her office to start her usual routine of stress and reaction, Sarah sat in her car for 30 minutes in complete silence. No phone, no radio, no distractions, just her and her thought. For the first time in years, she wasn't running from herself. She was sitting with herself. What she discovered in that silence horrified and liberated her at the same time. She realized that every major problem in her life could be traced back to a decision she had made, a boundary she hadn't set, a responsibility she had avoided, or a truth she had refused to face. Her financial problems: she had been spending money to feel better instead of facing why she felt bad. Her relationship problems: she had been trying to change everyone else instead of changing herself. Her career problems: she had been waiting for someone to recognize her value instead of developing it. In that 30 minutes of silence, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. She decided to focus completely on herself, not in a selfish way but in a responsible way. She decided to stop trying to control everything outside herself and start controlling everything inside herself. She decided to stop broadcasting her problems and start silently solving them. The changes didn't happen overnight, but they started immediately. Sarah began waking up 30 minutes earlier every day to sit in silence and plan her day instead of reacting to it. She stopped complaining about her job and started developing skills that would get her a better one. She stopped blaming her ex-husband for their financial situation and started taking courses in financial management. She stopped hoping someone would rescue her and started rescuing herself. Within 6 months, Sarah had been promoted. Within a year, she had moved to a better apartment. Within 18 months, she had started her own consulting business. Today, she owns that business, has more money than she ever thought possible, and more importantly, has become the kind of person she always wanted to be. But here's what's really important about Sarah's story: nothing external changed until something internal changed. Her circumstances were the same on Tuesday morning as they were on Monday night. The only difference was her decision to focus on herself and stay silent about it while she did the work. This brings us to the choice that changes everything. Every single moment of every single day, you face the same fundamental choice that Sarah faced in that car. You can choose to be a victim of your circumstances, or you can choose to be the creator of them. You can choose to react to life, or you can choose to respond to it. You can choose to focus on what's happening outside you, or you can choose to focus on what's happening inside you. Most people choose victimhood because it's easier. It requires no effort, no responsibility, no change. You just point to your circumstances and say, "See, this is why I can't succeed." It's comfortable, it's familiar, and it guarantees you'll stay exactly where you are. But some people choose creation. They understand that circumstances don't create you. You create circumstances. They know that everything external is a reflection of something internal. They focus their energy not on changing the world around them, but on changing the world within them. This choice isn't selfish. In fact, it's the most unselfish thing you can do. When you focus on yourself, when you take complete responsibility for your life, when you stop draining other people's energy with your problems, and start generating solutions, you become a force for good in the world. You become someone others can depend on instead of someone who depends on others. But this choice requires something most people aren't willing to give: silence. Real silence. Not just quiet time, but the courage to sit alone with your thoughts, to examine your character, to face your mistakes, to own your results, and to change what needs to be changed. When did you last sit in complete silence and honestly examine who you're becoming? Not who you want to become, not who you think you are, but who you're actually becoming based on your daily choices. When did you last take an honest inventory of your thoughts, your habits, your relationships, your character? Most people avoid this examination because they're afraid of what they'll find. They're afraid they'll discover that their problems really are their fault, that their excuses really are just excuses, that their comfortable story about why they can't succeed really is just a story. But here's what happens when you have the courage to look. You discover that everything you need to succeed is already inside you. You realize that you've been looking for answers in all the wrong places. You understand that the person you've been waiting for to rescue you is you. What story are you telling yourself about why you can't succeed? Is it that you don't have enough money, the wrong background, not enough connections, bad timing? Listen to your story carefully. Really listen, because that story is the only thing standing between you and the life you want. How much of your energy goes to controlling others versus controlling yourself? How much time do you spend trying to change your spouse, your boss, your circumstances, your luck? How much mental energy do you waste on things completely outside your control, while ignoring the one thing that is completely within your control: yourself? When you're alone with your thoughts, what do you discover about your true character? Not the character you present to the world, but the character you are when no one is watching. Are you the same person in private that you are in public? Are your thoughts as noble as your words? Are your motives as pure as your image? These questions make most people uncomfortable, because they force honesty, and honesty is the first requirement for change. You cannot fix what you will not face. You cannot change what you will not acknowledge. You cannot grow beyond what you will not examine. Society has conditioned us to look everywhere except within ourselves for solutions. We're taught to blame our parents, our circumstances, our government, our economy, our luck for our results. We're encouraged to seek answers from experts, gurus, systems, and strategy. We're told that someone else has the key to our success, and we just need to find them. This is not only wrong, it's dangerous. It makes you dependent instead of independent. It makes you weak instead of strong. It makes you a consumer of other people's wisdom instead of a creator of your own solutions. Every external problem has an internal solution. Every circumstance that troubles you reflects something within you that needs attention. Every obstacle you face is an opportunity to develop a strength you don't yet possess. Every challenge is a chance to become someone you've never been. But you'll only see this when you stop looking outside yourself for answers and start looking within. You'll only access your real power when you stop trying to change everything else and start changing yourself. This is why silence is so powerful. In silence you can hear the voice of wisdom that's been trying to get your attention your whole life. In silence you can see the patterns that have been running your life unconsciously. In silence you can access the clarity that gets drowned out by the noise of daily life. Silence becomes your laboratory for transformation. It's where you examine your thoughts before they become words. It's where you observe your emotions before they become actions. It's where you catch your patterns before they create your results. Most people are afraid of silence because they're afraid of what they'll hear. They fill every moment with noise, activity, distraction, because they don't want to be alone with themselves. But successful people understand that being comfortable with yourself in silence is the foundation of being comfortable with yourself anyway. Think of a farmer preparing soil before planting seeds. He doesn't plant first and prepare later. He knows that the quality of the harvest depends entirely on the quality of the preparation. Your life works the same way. You must prepare yourself before you can create lasting success. Or consider how a building must have a strong foundation before adding floors. You can't build up without first building down. Your character is your foundation. Your habits are your structure. Your daily disciplines are your building materials. Everything else is just decoration. Right now you have an opportunity that won't last forever. You can continue living the way you've been living and getting the results you've been getting, or you can make a different choice. You can begin today to focus completely on yourself, to sit in silence with your truth, to take responsibility for your results, and to change what needs to be changed. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about moving from unconscious living to conscious create. It's about becoming the author of your story, instead of a character in someone else's. Starting tomorrow morning, wake up 30 minutes earlier than usual. Spend those 30 minutes in complete silence without any distractions. Ask yourself 3 questions. Who am I becoming? What needs to change? What will I do today to move closer to who I want to be? Don't post about it. Don't tell anyone about it. Don't make it public. Keep it between you and yourself. Let your results speak instead of your words. Focus on yourself. Stay silent about your work, and watch as everything begins to fall into place. Because here's what you're about to learn. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything falls into place, not because the external world changes, but because you change. And when you change, everything changes. This change you're about to experience doesn't happen randomly. Life operates according to universal principles, not chaos. There are patterns, rhythms, and laws that govern how transformation occurs. Understanding these patterns gives you power over your circumstances, instead of being at their mercy. Look around you right now. Everything in nature follows predictable cycles. Spring doesn't arrive randomly. Winter doesn't surprise anyone. Seeds don't decide when to sprout based on their feelings. There's an order, a sequence, a reliability to how things grow and change. Your life follows the same patterns. There are seasons in personal development, just like there are seasons in nature. There's a time for preparation, a time for planting, a time for patience, and a time for harvest. The problem is that most people want harvest without the preceding seasons. They want the results without the process. They want the fruit without tending the tree. Who here has ever planted a garden? Raise your hand. Good. Then you know that you don't plant seeds today and eat fruit tomorrow. You prepare the soil, plant at the right time, water consistently, protect from pests, and wait. You trust the process, even when you can't see progress. Yet somehow when it comes to personal success, people expect different rules. They read one book and expect immediate wisdom. They exercise for 1 week and expect permanent fitness. They change their attitude for 1 day and expect lasting transformation. They violate every principle they would never violate in farming, then wonder why their personal harvest is so disappointing. The first season is preparation. This is where most people fail before they even begin. They skip preparation because it's not exciting. There's no immediate reward. Nobody celebrates you for preparing, but preparation determines everything that follows. In your life, preparation means examining your thoughts, questioning your beliefs, identifying your patterns, and developing your character. It means sitting in that silence we talked about and doing the hard work of self-examination. It means getting honest about where you are so you can plan where you're going. The second season is planting. This is where you take action based on your preparation. But here's what most people miss. You plant actions, but you harvest habits. You plant thoughts, but you harvest attitudes. You plant today's choices, but you harvest tomorrow's character. What are you planting right now with your daily choices? If someone could only judge you by what you do when no one is watching, what would they conclude about your future? Your daily actions are seeds. Your habits are the soil. Your results are the inevitable harvest. The third season is patience. This is where most people quit. They plant the right seeds, but they can't handle the waiting. They start looking for shortcuts. They get distracted by what other people are harvesting. They dig up their seeds to see if they're growing. But every significant transformation requires time. Your character wasn't built in a day, and it won't change in a day. Your habits weren't formed overnight, and they won't transform overnight. Your success won't appear instantly, but it will appear inevitably if you trust the process. The fourth season is harvest. This is where you reap what you've sown. But here's what's interesting. The harvest is never just for you. When you've done the work, when you've paid the price, when you've trusted the process, your success becomes a source of inspiration and possibility for others. But notice something crucial. Difficulties always precede breakthroughs if you respond correctly. Every season has its challenges. Spring has storms, summer has droughts, fall has endings, winter has cold. But each challenge serves a purpose in your development. Your difficulties are not punishments. They're preparations. They're not obstacles. They're opportunities. They're not happening to you. They're happening for you, but only if you understand the pattern and respond with wisdom instead of emotion. Everything in life moves in cycle. Success and failure, confidence and doubt, expansion and contraction, abundance and scarcity. These cycles are natural, predictable, and valuable. Fighting them creates suffering. Flowing with them creates success. When things are going well, prepare for challenges. When things are difficult, prepare for breakthroughs. When you're expanding, build systems to handle growth. When you're contracting, develop strength for the next expansion. Most people do the opposite. When things are good, they get complacent. When things are bad, they panic. They resist the natural rhythm of growth and wonder why life feels so hard. Think about a river flowing to the ocean. Does it fight every bend, every rock, every narrow passage? No. It flows around obstacles, over barriers, through challenges. It doesn't stop because the path is difficult. It finds a way because its destination is certain. Your life can flow the same way when you stop fighting the natural cycles and start flowing with them. When you understand that both expansion and contraction are necessary, both success and failure are temporary, both confidence and doubt are part of growth. How you respond to what happens determines what happens next. This is the most important principle you'll ever learn. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you that creates your results. Two people can face identical circumstances and create completely opposite outcomes. One gets bitter, the other gets better. One sees problems, the other sees opportunity. One focuses on what's wrong, the other focuses on what's possible. What makes the difference? Their response. Between every stimulus and every response, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose. Most people react instantly, unconsciously, emotionally. Successful people respond deliberately, consciously, strategically. This space can be expanded through practice, through awareness, through that daily silence we discussed. You can increase the time between what happens and how you respond. You can learn to pause, think, choose, and then act from wisdom instead of emotion. Your life right now is the sum total of your responses to everything that has happened to you. If you don't like your results, you must change your response. If you want different outcomes, you must develop different patterns of response. Here's what this looks like practically. When someone criticizes you, you can respond with defensiveness or curiosity. When you face a setback, you can respond with despair or determination. When opportunity appears, you can respond with fear or faith. Your response determines your result, but most people sabotage themselves before they even get started. They have patterns of self-sabotage running so automatically that they destroy their own success without even realizing it. Procrastination is self-sabotage. You know what you need to do, but you do something else instead. Perfectionism is self-sabotage. You delay action until conditions are perfect, which means you never act. People-pleasing is self-sabotage. You sacrifice your own needs to avoid disappointing others, then resent them for your choice. Blame is self-sabotage. Every minute you spend blaming others is a minute you're not spending improving yourself. Excuse-making is self-sabotage. Every excuse you create protects you from responsibility and guarantees you'll stay where you are. Why do we sabotage ourselves? Because part of us is addicted to comfortable misery. We'd rather stay in familiar pain than risk unfamiliar success. We'd rather have predictable problems than unpredictable possibilities. Your unconscious mind will fight your conscious goals if you haven't addressed the programming that's running your life automatically. This is why willpower fails, but awareness succeeds. You can't fight what you can't see. You can't change what you won't acknowledge. But when you shine the light of awareness on these patterns, when you catch yourself in the act of self-sabotage, you can interrupt the pattern and choose a different response. This is where that daily silence becomes crucial. It's in silence that you can observe your thoughts before they become actions. What patterns are running your life automatically? When do you procrastinate? What triggers your defensiveness? When do you make excuses? What situations cause you to blame others? Become aware of these patterns, and you gain power over them. Successful people think differently than mediocre people. It's not that they're smarter or more talented. They've simply developed different thought patterns that produce different results. When faced with a challenge, the average person thinks, "Why is this happening to me?" The successful person thinks, "What is this trying to teach me?" When encountering an obstacle, the average person thinks, "This is why I can't succeed." The successful person thinks, "This is how I can grow stronger." When things go wrong, the average person looks for someone to blame. The successful person looks for a lesson to learn. When opportunities appear, the average person sees reasons why it won't work. The successful person sees possibilities for how it could work. These different thought patterns create different emotions, which create different actions, which create different results. Change your thinking, and you change your life. But changing your thinking requires conscious effort, because your old patterns are deeply ingrained. The mediocrity mentality says, "I'll believe it when I see it." The success mentality says, "I'll see it when I believe it." The mediocrity mentality focuses on problems. The success mentality focuses on solutions. The mediocrity mentality asks, "What if it doesn't work?" The success mentality asks, "What if it does work?" Notice something important. Successful people aren't positive because they're successful. They're successful because they've learned to think positively about challenges, obstacles, and setbacks. They've trained their minds to look for opportunities in every difficulty. This mental training happens in silence, in that daily practice of examining and directing your thoughts. Most people let their thoughts run wild, then wonder why their lives feel chaotic. But you can train your mind like you train your body. You can develop mental discipline like you develop physical discipline. Start noticing your automatic thought. When something goes wrong, what's your first thought? When you face a challenge, what story do you tell yourself? When opportunity appears, what fears arise? Awareness is the first step toward change. Then practice replacing limiting thoughts with empowering ones. Instead of "I can't do this," practice thinking, "I'm learning how to do this." Instead of "This always happens to me," practice thinking, "This is helping me grow stronger." Instead of "I don't have what it takes," practice thinking, "I'm developing what it takes." This isn't about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. This is about training your mind to look for solutions instead of dwelling on problems, to see opportunities instead of only obstacles, to focus on what you can control instead of what you can't. Your mind is your most powerful tool, but like any tool, it must be sharpened regularly. That daily silence, that consistent self-examination, that conscious direction of your thoughts, this is how you sharpen your mind
and develop the mental patterns that create success. Right now, you have patterns running your life automatically. Some serve you, others sabotage you, some move you toward your goals, others keep you stuck where you are. The question is, will you become aware of these patterns and take control of them, or will you let them continue running your life unconsciously? Every moment gives you a new opportunity to choose your response. Every challenge gives you a chance to practice new patterns. Every setback gives you an opportunity to demonstrate your new mentality. You're not a victim of your patterns. You're the creator of them. But creating new patterns requires the same discipline we've been discussing: daily practice, silent self-examination, conscious choice-making, and patient persistence. The patterns that run your life today didn't develop overnight, and new patterns won't replace them overnight, but they will replace them, inevitably, if you stay consistent with the work. This brings us to the practical application of everything we've covered. Understanding principles is useless without applying them. Knowing patterns is powerless without practicing them. Recognizing cycles is worthless without responding to them correctly. Everything depends on what you do daily, consistently, silently. Extraordinary results come from ordinary disciplines practiced consistently, not occasionally, not when you feel like it, not when conditions are perfect. Consistently, every single day without exception, without excuse, without negotiation. The difference between successful people and everyone else isn't what they do once in a while. It's what they do daily. It's the small things repeated consistently over time that create massive change. But most people underestimate the power of small actions and overestimate the power of big gestures. You want to transform your life? Start with 1 hour. 1 hour every morning, before the world demands your attention, before the phone rings, before the emails arrive, before other people's emergencies become your priorities. 1 hour that belongs completely to you and your development. What would happen if you invested 1 hour every morning in becoming the person you want to be? What would change in your life if you spent 1 hour daily in complete silence, working on yourself, instead of reacting to everything else? Most people wake up and immediately check what everyone else is doing. They start their day by reacting instead of creating. They hand over their mental energy to whatever demands their attention, instead of directing it toward what deserves their attention. But successful people protect their mornings like they protect their money. They understand that how you start your day determines how you live your day. They create space for silence,
reflection, planning, and intention setting before they allow the world to pull them in different directions. This is your silent hour. Not silent because you're not doing anything, but silent because you're not talking about what you're doing. You're doing the work in private so you can see the results in public. You're focusing on yourself so you can serve others better. You're building your character so you can build your life. What do you do during this silent hour? 3 things that will change everything if you do them consistently. First, you reflect on who you're becoming. Not who you want to become, but who you're actually becoming based on your choices yesterday. You examine your thoughts, your reactions, your decisions, your character. You ask yourself hard questions and give yourself honest answers. Did I act from wisdom or emotion yesterday? Did I respond or react to challenges? Did I take responsibility or make excuses? Did I focus on solutions or problems? Did I move closer to my goals or further away from them? This isn't about judgment or guilt. This is about awareness and adjustment. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. You can't improve what you don't examine. You can't grow beyond what you won't face honestly. Second, you plan your day with intention. Most people let their day happen to them. You're going to make your day happen for you. You're going to decide in advance how you want to respond to whatever comes your way. What are your 3 most important priorities today? Not your most urgent tasks, but your most important one. What will move you closer to your goals? What will develop your character? What will create the results you want? How will you respond if things don't go as planned? How will you handle interruptions, distractions, How will you maintain your focus when the world tries to scatter your attention? Planning isn't about controlling everything that happens. It's about controlling how you respond to everything that happens. When you plan your responses in advance, you respond from wisdom instead of emotion. Third, you visualize the person you're becoming, not fantasizing about results you haven't earned, but clearly seeing the character you're developing, the habits you're building, the life you're creating through your daily choices. See yourself handling challenges with grace. See yourself staying focused when others get distracted. See yourself choosing the harder right over the easier wrong. See yourself becoming someone you're proud to be. This isn't positive thinking. This is mental preparation. Athletes visualize successful performances before competition. Surgeons visualize successful procedures before operations. You should visualize successful character before facing your daily challenges. Your mind can't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly visualize yourself acting with wisdom, courage, and discipline, you're programming your unconscious mind to act that way automatically. This silent hour becomes the foundation for your entire day. Everything else builds on this foundation. When you start your day by focusing on yourself, examining your character, and directing your mind, you approach everything else from a position of strength instead of weakness. But 1 hour in the morning isn't enough. You need checkpoints throughout your day to stay on track, to maintain your focus, to correct your course when necessary. At midday, ask yourself 3 questions. Am I acting according to my morning intentions? Am I responding from wisdom or reacting from emotion? What needs to be adjusted for the rest of the day? This isn't about perfection. You will get off track. You will react instead of respond. You will make mistakes. But successful people catch themselves quickly and adjust immediately. They don't wait until tomorrow to get back on track. Most people notice they're off course, feel guilty about it, then use their guilt as an excuse to stay off course. They think, I've already ruined today, so I might as well give up until tomorrow. This is exactly backward. The moment you notice you're off track is the moment you have the most power to change direction. Don't wait for a new day, a new week, a new year. Adjust now. Correct course immediately. Every moment is a new opportunity to choose differently. In the evening, complete the cycle with reflection and gratitude. Ask yourself, what did I learn about myself today? What did I do well? What will I do differently tomorrow? What am I grateful for? This isn't about judging your performance. This is about learning from your experience. Every day provides lessons if you're willing to learn them. Every challenge teaches you something about your character. Every success shows you what's possible when you apply yourself. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the good in what you have while working toward what you want. It's about appreciating progress while pursuing more progress. It's about being thankful for opportunities to grow, even when growth is uncomfortable. This 3-part daily framework, morning intention, midday adjustment, evening reflection, will transform your life if you practice it consistently. But consistency requires something most people lack: the discipline to stay focused in a world designed to distract you. How do you maintain focus when everything around you is trying to scatter your attention? How do you stay committed to your goals when others are trying to involve you in their drama? How do you keep working on yourself when everyone else wants you to work on them? First, you must understand that focus is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The less you use it, the weaker it gets. Most people have weak focus muscles because they've never trained them consistently. Every time you choose to focus on what's important instead of what's urgent, you strengthen your focus muscle. Every time you say no to a good thing so you can say yes to a great thing, you build your discipline. Every time you resist the temptation to check what everyone else is doing and instead focus on what you're doing, you develop your character. Single tasking is the new superpower. While everyone else is trying to do 10 things at once and doing none of them well,
You're going to do one thing at a time and do it excellent, while others are constantly switching between tasks and losing energy in the transitions. You're going to maintain sustained focus and get more done in less time. When you're working, work. When you're resting, rest. When you're listening, listen. When you're speaking, speak. Be fully present in whatever you're doing instead of partially present in everything you're doing. Create physical environments that support your focus. Remove distractions before they can distract you. Set boundaries with people who don't respect your time. Protect your attention like you protect your money, because your attention is more valuable than your money. Here's something crucial. Stay silent about your goals until they're achieved. The moment you start talking about what you're going to do, you release the psychological pressure to actually do it. You get the satisfaction of achievement without the achievement. Keep your mouth closed and your actions loud. Let your results speak instead of your words. Focus on becoming instead of appearing. Work in private so you can succeed in public. When you do this consistently, something magical happens. The inner work you're doing in silence starts creating outer results that seem to appear out of nowhere. Opportunities begin presenting themselves. Resources become available. Relationships improve. Problems solve themselves. This isn't magic. This is the compound effect of character development. When you consistently work on yourself, you become the kind of person who attracts success instead of chasing it. You develop the character that creates opportunities instead of waiting for them. People will think you're lucky. They'll say you're in the right place at the right time. They won't see the daily disciplines, the silent work, the consistent character development that made the luck possible. And that's fine. Let them think what they want. You know the truth. The compound effect works like interest in a bank account. Small daily deposits don't seem significant at first, but over time they create wealth. Small daily improvements in your character don't seem important initially, but over time they create success. One day of silence and self-reflection won't change your life. One day of focused work won't create success. One day of new thinking won't transform your result. But one day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. And 1 year of consistent daily disciplines creates a completely different life. This is why most people quit. They don't see immediate results from their efforts, so they assume their efforts don't matter. They expect instant transformation and get discouraged by gradual improvement. They want overnight success and can't handle the patience required for permanent change. But you're different. You understand that anything worth achieving takes time to develop. You know that character is built slowly but lasts forever. You're willing to work in private so you can succeed in public. You're committed to the process, not just the results. Your life right now is the sum total of your daily habits, your daily thoughts, your daily choices. If you want a different life, you must create different habits, think different thoughts, make different choices. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel ready. Today. Right now, as you're hearing these words, you have a choice to make. You can continue living the way you've been living and getting the results you've been getting. Or you can begin immediately to implement what you've learned. You can wake up tomorrow 30 minutes earlier and start your silent hour. You can spend that time reflecting on your character, planning your day with intention, and visualizing the person you're becoming. You can begin the daily practice that will transform your life. You can stop making excuses and start making changes. You can stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility. You can stop reacting to life and start creating it. You can stop focusing on everyone else and start focusing on yourself. You can stay silent about your goals and loud about your action. You can work in private and succeed in public. You can focus on becoming the person who deserves the life you want, instead of trying to get the life without becoming the person. This isn't about perfection. This is about progress. This is about moving from unconscious living to conscious creating. This is about becoming the author of your story instead of a character in someone else's. The principles you've learned today aren't theories to be understood, they're practices to be implemented. The patterns you've recognized aren't concepts to be remembered, they're cycles to be mastered. The disciplines you've been given aren't suggestions to be considered, they're systems to be practiced. When you focus on yourself and stay silent about it, everything falls into place because you fall into place first. When you align your daily actions with your deepest values, when you respond to challenges from wisdom instead of emotion, when you take complete responsibility for your results, you become the kind of person who naturally creates success. Your life is not happening to you, it's happening through you, and that changes everything. Not tomorrow, right now, the moment you decide that you are responsible for your results, your transformation begins. The moment you commit to daily disciplines over daily distractions, your success becomes inevitable. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop hoping someone will rescue you. Stop expecting the world to change. Start focusing on yourself. Start doing the daily work. Start staying silent about your goals while being loud about your effort. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything falls into place.